Start recording. Hello, listening audience. Welcome to another Toonkind at 12 frames per second. It's me again, Whirl. I am one of your players for the day, and I am joined for this lovely little funky flashback FPS by...
Sup, I'm Mira. I will be playing Sammy Jax.
Hell yeah, we love the boy. Okay, so let's just jump right in, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we don't open with the main scene of this FPS. Instead, we open with a much younger Sammy in a hidden back courtyard of a theater, standing in front of what looks like some sort of statue of a lady in a black dress with rainbow colored hair. Sammy, what are you doing back here?
Well, his feet have a tendency to wander, and his feet took him here, and he's always been interested in things like with dealing with stories and theater, and he just wandered in, and he's just kind of taking everything in and taking in the sort of muted melancholy all around.
Mm-hmm. This.
And
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, like he kind of like just naturally just approaches the statue because it's the only humanoid thing, and he's just looking up at it.
It's not in very good repair. It's dusty, the metal is starting to crack, it's overgrown with moss and grasses and vines. It's funny, this building isn't very old, but this statue, this little back garden, looks like it's been abandoned for centuries, even though you know that shouldn't be possible. It's sad. It seems very lonely.
Sammy looks at the statue and he hesitates for a moment before he reaches out and just is like, "You're like me. Everyone's forgotten you, haven't they?" And he kind of just absentmindedly kind of starts wandering around this garden, and he's just like, what? Okay, that plant shouldn't be there. If there's flowers here, then there's no, this won't do. This He's kind of seized by the injustice of it all, and he just determinedly starts plucking weeds and grass and cleaning up this little clearing around the statue.
And we fade out from that to a few years later. It's dark. It's nighttime. Or, at the very least, it's sunset. The sun has just fallen beyond the horizon, and darkness is starting to fall over these woods that, Sammy, you find yourself traversing on yet another incident where your feet kind of just did what they wanted and took you walking. So, how are you feeling as darkness starts to fall? What are you gonna do?
Uh, Sammy kind of looks up from his wandering kind of fugue and then goes, "Oh, that, oh, I'm a lot farther than I thought I was. Oh dear. Um, hmm." And he kind of just looks around trying to see where he can kind of just stay for the night because he's not going to be able to go back to Toontown in time because it's already dark.
Roll me perception or investigation, whichever you're better at.
Um, is she? I don't know why, but he has proficiency in perception.
Okay, that's a 17. All right, so as you're looking around, you see, sort of off the beaten path, a slightly overgrown and ignored path. One that doesn't seem like it's very highly traveled. If you wanted someplace out of the way, maybe this would lead you there.
Sammy follows this path because it's better than anything else because he honestly doesn't quite know where his feet took him this time. He's just like, oh geez.
Uh, roll me dexterity real fast.
Oh boy. Doo-doo-doo.
Okay,
16.
that's a 16. So it's not, it's not a walk in the park, but you do still like walk pretty safely and normally. You only trip over a tree root like twice. It's fine. Um, and you get to a clearing of sorts, in the middle of which is a building built out of dark gray stone that looks pretty clearly abandoned. Do you want to roll me investigation, perception, insight, whatever?
Let's do perception again.
That's a 6. Okay. Uh, it's a building. It's made of stone. There's a lot of grass on it. That's about all you know.
Hey, it's shelter.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't look like anyone lives here, so it's not like you're gonna get in trouble.
Yep. So Sammy's gonna head inside.
Yeah, you find the entrance. There are a couple, but you finally find one that's not leading to a dead end and find one that actually leads into the sort of main room of the building. And inside is a familiar sight. You see another one of these weird statue fountains, the ones that you keep finding in the back rooms of theaters and of music halls, the ones in the gardens at that one acting school that you visited at one point because they let people on the grounds and gave them food for free. And just like all the others, it's a mess. The water isn't flowing, it's overgrown and grassy. The stone of the fountain is starting to crumble. And even though the plants are invasive at the very least, they're also dry and not the healthiest they could be. And just like every other time you've found one of these, the entire place is just sad. It's sad and it's lonely and it's empty and it carries a feeling of being abandoned.
Sammy, he just like, I didn't expect to find you all the way out here. You kind of seem like you're everywhere that I look, but why did they leave? I, I don't understand. Like, you must have been some patron of the arts or of something. I don't. It's the arts are still really popular. Like, people still sing and they still act, and there's this one amazing movie director. I don't even know if you know what a movie director is. And as he's speaking to this statue, he's starting to kind of clear away what the wilted weeds and plants and debris that's cluttering these old and dried up fountain beds. And he just kind of continues and is just like, I don't understand why people would leave you like this. I don't understand why they would do something like this. I don't understand at all. You seem so lonely every time I see you. I don't think it should be like that. Like me, I'm surrounded by people, but they I don't know. I'm I I do know why, but I don't know how to fix it or how to make it better or whatever. Yeah, kind of keeps continuing on in this vein as he talks to the statue and cleans up the cleans up the area around her.
Hmm. And I want you to roll me perception again. This is a game of lots of perception rolls.
Yep.
And that's an 11. Okay. All right. So you're not paying too much attention because, you're kind of talking and rambling and saying whatever's on your mind. And it's a funny feeling because you get the feeling whoever she is, she appreciates it. And then something odd happens. You're cleaning up the inside of this fountain. You're getting all this dead plant life and still living the but shouldn't be here plant life out of the fountain bed, and your hand hits something wet. And it's funny because given the state of this place, you wouldn't assume that there would still be water, but apparently there's still a little bit here.
Oh, I let's let's at least clear this stuff out. What did they do to this place? It's not right. I don't understand at all. And he clears away the muddy plant mud stoppage, whatever the peck his fingers just found, and he just kind of grabs it and then plops it on the ground with ugh.
Just yoink.
Yep.
And there's a soft splashing sound as water starts to flow back into this fountain. And it's really pretty too. It sparkles under the beam of moonlight that's coming from a crack in the ceiling. And Sammy, you get the feeling you're no longer alone here.
Sammy freezes and something strange happens. His completely white color palette on his skin suddenly flickers with this purple hue, and then just as quickly as it happened, it's gone.
Oh, come on, don't do that. That's not healthy.
Who? Uh, Sammy flinches and turns around.
And there's a lady standing behind you. She is tall. You assume she's a toon, but good God, you've never seen a toon this tall before. Like, she is easily over 8 feet tall. And it's the darndest thing. She looks just like the statue, except she's not holding the spear.
I, you're the statue. I don't understand. Why are you here?
Well, you've been talking to me for so long, I figured it might be more polite if now that I can, I finally answered. And she walks over and sits down on the edge of the fountain.
Sammy's white eyes are wide, and he just stares at her. statue, now person. What?
No, no, no.
What?
No, no, no. Statue's still in the same place. Statue is not me. I am not made of metal, or stone, or glass for that matter. She
But
laughs.
I don't understand. Who? Who are you?
Oh, right. That would probably be polite. Sorry. She giggles and kind of runs her fingers through her hair. And she can't really smile because she doesn't have a mouth that you can see, but the corners of her eyes turn up. And she holds out a hand for you to shake and says, My name's Prismatone. Uh, thanks for helping clean this place up some.
Sammy hesitates and then reaches out and shakes her hand and is just, Sammy, what happened? I don't understand what happened to this place. I, I don't understand.
And she kind of smiles in her own way and sighs and shrugs and says, Well, about the same thing that happens to anyone who gets sucked up into nothing. You disappear for, what, 30 years, and suddenly everybody's forgotten you. Except you, I guess. Thank you for that.
You don't deserve to be forgotten.
Well, how do you know that? You don't even know
I,
me.
I, I don't know. It is nobody does. Nobody does. No one.
No, no one does, do they? And she kind of gives you a look.
Sammy kind of shuffles under the look. He's just like, I don't really understand what's going on here. Uh,
She laughs, and then she says, Relax, I don't bite. I just wanted to talk to you, I guess. You know,
talk, talk to me. There's nothing special about me.
excuse you, I beg to differ. And
But
she kind of stands up again, puts her hands on her hips, and says, I can count on one hand the amount of people who actually take time to visit my temples and shrines anymore. And I can't count on one hand because I can count on two fingers exactly how many actually take the time to help clean things up and fix things. There's something very special about you to me personally because of that, but also because you're the kind of person who would do that, who would spend hours talking to a statue of someone for who all you know could be dead. You've
I
got a good
guess
heart, Sammy.
I I no, I don't.
Yes, you do.
How do you know?
It's my job to know.
What?
Would Sammy like to roll history?
Oh boy, let's see how well that goes. Yeah, that's just a straight 20. Okay, here we go. 18. Wow.
Yeah, Sammy, I think. How often does Sammy visit the library?
Considering his reading comprehension is on the level of a 10-year-old,
Probably not very
Wiggles
often.
hand?
Okay, probably not very often. So, hmm. Well, maybe it's not so much that you read it somewhere, but that you heard it somewhere. Because you have hung around where these statues do tend to show up. And some people do still visit the gardens. They just don't really do much there except visit and talk to the statue on occasion. Because supposedly, there's this superstition, right? That these statues somehow have the power to bring someone's true self forward, that they have something to do with some goddess or the other that had power over the heart and soul.
Sammy's shading goes sky blue for the briefest of seconds before it's immediately white again. And he kind of hunches in on himself a little.
Hey, none of that. Come on, what's the matter?
Wait, I, I, you say I'm special, but I can't be special. I can't be special. It's not. And as he speaks, his shading slowly comes out and is a slight lilac. He's just like holding his arm and it's just like, I can't be special. I, I can't. I can't be special.
Why not?
If I'm special, then they'll find me and I can't. And
Oh,
his shading is going darker and darker until it's a purple.
whoa. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. You're safe here, okay? And she very, very gently sets her hands on his shoulders, and it doesn't quite feel like being touched by a normal person. It just feels calming. And like you can feel the contact, and it's gentle and soft, and her hands are very cool. And she's just like, "You're okay. You're safe here, okay? I wouldn't let them hurt you."
And Sammy takes a breath and the colors fade again and then he kind of his shoulders slump and his color fades completely.
That's not healthy, you know.
I know, but if it comes out, then they'll find me again. It happened. I can't.
Oh, sweetie.
He
And
found me.
she's
He's
just
gonna
going
take
to
me away.
she's just going to very gently hug him.
I can't. It, I know it hurts every time, but I can't. I can't.
No,
They'll they'll find me.
I know, baby bird. You've been dealing with this for a long time, huh?
Eh, He found me when I first was here, and I can't. And when he says here, he means when he first was on the streets.
I'm so sorry, sweetie. And she's just very gently rubbing his back, and she sat them both down on the edge of the fountain again, because, good God, this kid needs a rest.
He does. And he just kind of curls in on her lap and is just he he's holding on to her because he hasn't had someone to hold on to for almost 9 years.
Yep, and she lets him, and she holds on to him too, and she's quiet, and she listens.
He he was so nice. I I trusted him. I would have gone with him, but then he charmed me and it it I would have gone no matter what and I I broke out of it somehow, but and I ran, but he charmed me. He knew who I was. He knew what it meant, and I don't want him to find me again.
Hmm. And I'm not going to make you roll insight because this is a moment that doesn't need rolls right now because we are doing emotions. Um, but when you mention that somebody charmed you, Sammy, you like there's a soft sound like a crackling fire, and the light in the room turns a little more red and gets a little warmer, but then it cools off a bit and the red light fades, and Prismatone just gently rubs your back and says, I know. I wish I could have helped you. I'm so sorry.
No one was there. I didn't even have squeakers. It was just me, and I ran, and I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. I just ran. I'm always running. I don't want to keep running. I don't want to keep running. I don't know where to go, or I, I don't want to go back there.
I know, little one, I know. And she just, she gently pats his head and she's like, I'm so sorry. You've been running for so long. You're so tired. You deserve a chance to rest. You shouldn't have to deal with any of this, Sammy. I'm so sorry.
I don't understand why this happened. I I don't like if I wasn't able to change color, then they wouldn't be interested, and they wouldn't have done anything. They wouldn't have. And as he's talking, he's shifted from talking about the person who charmed him and someone far closer.
Mm. And again, she's quiet and hears him out because this is the sort of thing that sometimes you really need to get off your chest.
Yeah, and he he just kind of stares at his wrists where some strange circular, they look like freckles, and they're rainbow colored, and they're the only color on this tune currently. Just little speckles of rainbow dots, all dotted around his wrist.
Mm.
And he just stares at them because he doesn't understand why they would do it to him and do it to themselves. And if he didn't have any color, then maybe they would have just loved him like they should have, instead of
Yes.
seeing him as something, as part of what they were doing.
Yeah. And she's quiet for a moment, considering what to say. And then she says, You have a very good heart, Sammy. You're a very kind and sweet person, but not everyone's like that. Sometimes people have horrible things in their hearts that make them willing to do terrible things to others. That doesn't mean that you deserved it, and it certainly doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean it's your job to try and take that badness out of them, but it means that they hurt you. And I'm so sorry that that happened. And she gently taps not his wrist, but one of the spots on his skin where the colored shading was appearing before, and she says softly, "This? Your colors? These are a gift. These are something special and wonderful. They're a chance to wear your heart on your sleeve and shout out how you feel to the world. And so many people are too scared to do that. And I'm so, so sorry, Sammy, that they made you scared. Because you shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to be scared to feel. You shouldn't have to be in danger just because of something you can't control."
Sammy kind of quietly nods and just kind of looks up at Prismatone and this is like, I don't, I don't want to feel empty like this. I don't want it to be forever. I don't want, but every time I feel it, it hurts. It hurts, and I can't. It, I I watched something with this little imp tune. His name's Coda, and I watched it and I felt for what felt like the first time in forever, and it felt like I was breathing, and then it all slammed down, and I couldn't. It it was too much. I couldn't, and everything went numb again, and I don't know how to break through. It hurts. Every time I try, it hurts. It hurts.
I know. And she's still holding him, by the way, and she quietly sighs and then she gently touches two fingers to his lips and pulls back and her hand, and there's a line of glowing lavender and blue and gold lines and spirals and swoops and sparks that follow after and echo with the faintest hint of the sound of his voice. And he can tell what he just said is affecting it because the colors are washed out and grayed and desaturated. And she looks at it and she sighs and says, "Sometimes when we hold back on things for too long, it can be hard to let them go again. When we put a block on a part of ourselves that's as important as what you've been keeping quiet, what you've been silencing to keep yourself safe, it will hurt a lot to be able to let it go again. And sometimes we don't know how to do it." And she thinks for a minute, and Sammy, if you'd like, you can roll insight on what this thing she has pulled from you that she's holding is as she considers it for a moment.
16.
Yep. Sammy, you don't know how, but you know that that's a bit of your own voice.
And he reaches up and kind of
He what?
he like reaches up and kind of touches his throat in confusion, just kind of like, wait, what? That's a bit of my voice. What?
And she blinks and realizes that, oh, right, I did that in front of him, and usually I don't do that in front of mortals. I am out of practice with this. Um,
There are like little question marks all floating around Sammy's head as he stares at this quizzically, like, processing, huh? This is cool, but what?
and she kind of she laughs a little weakly and says, "Sorry, it's been a while since I've been out in the field, as it were. I forget that me just doing that isn't always the most obvious thing." And she shows him his voice properly. It just sort of loosely floats above her hands as she hold above her hand as she holds it where he can see it. And she explains that his voice is supposed to be a lot more vibrant, a lot more saturated, but like all of his other colors, it's been washed out by the fear, by the numbness, and that it's hurting him. And then she's quiet for a moment, and then she does something. She gently squeezes the fingers on the hand that's holding the voice closed, with her other hand still wrapped around Sammy's back. And where her fingertips make contact with the smoky, glowing lines of this voice, the grayness, the desaturation, it shatters and falls away, leaving the voice just as bright and vibrant as it was before. And she's quiet because she seems to be thinking.
Sammy just kind of stares at all of the vibrant colors and is just his white eyes are wide, like they're like you can barely see them because of how thin his outlining of the eye is because they're that small. And he's just like, that's supposed to be me, but everything that I've been doing is ah. And just like he's processing, and he just, there's this quiet ache in his chest as he stares at these colors, and he wants to be like that. He wants to have that vibrancy and surety in his chest again because he has the faintest of memories of when he was younger and he was cheerfully painted in golds and oranges as he frolicked in fields. He wants that again.
And she wants that for him again. And her eyes kind of narrow for a split second as she thinks. And then she says quietly, "I think I might have an idea."
Hmm, idea?
And she
He
nods.
looks at her. He looks at her quizzically.
She nods, and the blue shades in her hair, the cyan and the sort of more indigo blue, are sort of swirling and brightening a bit as she thinks. And she says quietly, "I have a certain skill when it comes to shattering numbness, and there is a certain amount of bite to that tone." Uh,
He flinches slightly.
oh, she notices this because, she's perceptive like that, and she's like, "Oh, no, 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 sweetie, not in relation to you. Sorry, bad memories of my own."
He kind
And,
of just reaches out and touches her slightly in a, oh, I'm sorry, sort of way.
aw,
Even this boy cares, okay?
he has such a big heart, and I've been trying to keep it all in, but I love him. I love Sammy. Prismatone is adopting this child. I hope you know. Um, and she reaches up and she takes off her crown. And she shows this to Sammy and says quietly, "The silence has teeth that tear at everything, even when we can't see it. And you've been wrapped up in it for a very, very long time. And she runs her fingers over the diamond shapes that make up her crown and says, I had a personal experience with the silence where it tried to do the same to me, and I came out the victor. I learned how to destroy it, how to shatter it completely, to unleash pure cacophony. And that is also not healthy. She, like, gently taps his nose and says, having your colors is all well and good. Having them overwhelm you, we can't have that happening either. So, it'd be a matter of managing the sensitivity. But she shakes her head and then, like, does the like hand thing that means right. I'm focusing. Uh, and says, I wasn't able to escape that place without help. I think you might need some help of your own.
I
D-
I can't I can't do it without I can't.
I know. And she gently, like, she cups his face in her hand and just gently runs a thumb over his cheek and smiles and says softly, I know. That's why, if you want it, I'll help you. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to hurt, but at the very least, the block will be gone, and you can learn how to deal with the hurt until it doesn't hurt anymore. And she also looks around the temple and sighs and says, it used to be that people would come here when they had problems of a similar nature, and I would help them, and oftentimes they were like you. They were scared that if they showed how they felt, if they let themselves be whole, that the hurt would overwhelm them and that somebody would hurt them. A lot of them were scared of being hurt again, but not quite in the same way you were. She thinks for a minute and says, I'll help you if you want me to, and I'll give you a way to protect yourself.
You would do that for me?
And she smiles and nods with sort of a feeling of, well, yeah, of course I would.
Prismatone gets the feeling that Sammy has not, in fact, had this kind of experience really happen to him before, basically ever.
Oh no, baby.
And like he just kind of is like, I, what, me? You really would help me? What? No one's helped me before.
I know, and that's not a good thing.
And he just kind of looks up at her and is just like, I help, please, please. I can't do this without something. I can't. I don't
And
want. I don't want to hide anymore. It hurts too much to hide.
and she very gently dips her head down, and it feels like he's gotten a kiss on the forehead. And then I'm gonna need you to roll me a con save, buddy.
Oh boy, con save, con save, con save.
That's a 9.
Yep.
It feels like something has shattered. And it is overwhelming as all of your emotions, everything you've been blocking off, everything you've had to hide to keep yourself safe, but wanted so badly to let in, all of it comes crashing down and crashing in. And this time, there is nothing that comes up to block it.
It hurt. It hurt. It hurt.
It
It.
she hugs him very close and as tight as she can and lets him cry and she says, "I know. It's gonna hurt. The first time always does, but just let it come, okay?"
I don't. They've been dead for years, and they've. They're. Why am I crying when they did that to me? I don't understand why. Why? Why? I don't understand at all. Why do they do that? And it, why would they hurt their own son? I don't understand. And they told me to run. They told me to run it. The last I saw of him was burned. It all's gone. Gone. Can't even fix it. I can't even fix it, and it's. I don't understand. I don't understand. And he cries. He cries for the first time in 8 to 9 years, ever since he ran that night. And it hurts, but it hurts in a good way because it's finally this release of 8 to 9 years of this grief he hasn't been able to process at all. And it just floods out of him.
And the entire time, she doesn't let go. She doesn't leave. She doesn't try and speak up. She's just quiet and she listens and she holds him and lets him cry, lets him get all of that grief out. And she gently rocks him back and forth. And he feels safe. It feels safe here. And he feels protected and wanted. And even though it hurts, even though it hurts a lot, all of that all at once, it feels like things are going to get better.
Thank you, Prismatone. Thank you.
And she gently wipes his tears and smiles at him and says, "Of course. You deserve to be happy, Sammy. You deserve to feel. I'll always be here to help you, I promise."
Okay. What can I do to help you? I want to help you. It can't just be me getting something out of this.
You're so sweet. She laughs. And then she says, just live, okay? Just live and feel and maybe come talk to me every once in a while.
I'll always do that. I don't. I.
That's all I want.
I. Okay, but you deserve to be happy too. You. You're gonna be happy too, right, Prismatone?
Of course, sweetie. And she smiles at him and says, it's going to make me happy to see just how wonderful of a person you're going to become. Because you are something amazing, Sammy. And I can't wait to see it.
Tammy looks like he's gonna cry again, but for a different reason.
Well, roll insight real fast. Or perception, I guess. This would be more perception.
Woof, 18.
Yeah, there are faint glowing lines of white going down from her eyes. She's been crying too.
Oh, Sammy kind of like almost on instinct kind of just reaches up and brushes some of the tears away. Mm, I shouldn't have to cry too. It's gonna be okay. You told me that, right? So we both don't need to cry. It's gonna be okay.
And she smiles and laughs and nods. Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
You know, like Sammy just kind of rests his head against her chest and is just like, I am tired.
And she laughs and says, yeah, big release like that'll do that to you.
does
And
every does everybody feel like they need a century nap after you do something like this? Because
uh
I feel like I could nap for a century. Don't want to, but I could. I could. And like he kind of raises his finger a little on the could part, and his shading is like, I don't know, like it's this kind of like light yellow shading because he's just like he, he's tired, but he feels kind of okay, and that feels nice.
and she laughs and she very gently picks him up and and she carries him further into the temple, where there's still some perfectly intact and surprisingly not overgrown with weeds beds. And she sets him down on one of them and says, you should get some rest. Maybe not for a century, but for the evening.
Sammy kind of nods and slides underneath the covers, and then just he kind of hesitates for a moment, and then just kind of is like, "Don't go until I fall asleep."
Of course, baby bird. And she takes a seat on the ground next to the bed. And it's interesting. Her glowing, rainbowy swirls of hair, they make an excellent nightlight.
Your hair is pretty.
Thank you.
I don't have any hair. Egg. I am an egg.
She giggles at that and says, "Well, you make a lovely egg, but we'll see what we can do about that, hmm?"
I don't want me an egg. I want something like you. You're pretty. I want to be pretty. And he is very obviously half asleep as he's talking.
You're already very pretty, Sammy, but we'll see what we can do. Now get some rest.
Okay, you're very, very nice for a goddess. And his eyes shut, and he is finally asleep.
Oh, God, I love this kid. And she does stay until he falls asleep, and she stays a little while after, because Prismatone may not have much influence over the dream realm, but she does have enough to keep the nightmares away for a night. But she's not good with light. It's always more overwhelming to hear lots of voices when there's bright light. So by the time day breaks, and by the time sunlight is filtering in through the cracks in the ceiling in this place, she's gone.
Sammy kind of blinks open his eyes and just like, I was, sits up, blinks very blearily around, and then goes, wait, this is not the hole that I usually sleep in.
This is not my hole!
And this is not my brother. And he just kind of sits up, blink, 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 blink. Wait, that actually happened? And then like he kind of scrambles out of bed and is just like, okay, okay. So I talked to a really cool magic lady who is a goddess, and apparently I've been talking to her for a while because I've been talking to her statues, and uh uh and his shading is this sky, kind of like a mix between like sky blue and just the edges are this, like it's kind of gray, but it's like the good kind of gray where he's just surprised and really confused.
Sammy, do you want to look around the room?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll a perception check. Oh, it's a unnatural 21.
Yeah, okay. So, you're in this room. There's a lot of things in this room for some place that's been abandoned for years. Um, there are beds. You have just gotten out of one of these surprisingly very comfy beds.
It's the best night of sleep. The best. It's the best night's sleep he's ever had.
Yep. Like, dang, these kind of smell like moss, but they're very comfy.
He likes moss. He likes plant things.
Yeah. Um, there is a small round table in the middle of the room that is surprisingly not broken to pieces. Probably because it's carved out of the same stone as the rest of the building. And um, on this table, there's a little stack of things.
Sammy's head tilts and he curiously walks over to these things.
Okay. Well, first off, there is a note card on the top of this stack of things.
Sammy picks up the note card and is like, what is this? Was not
Uh,
expecting this here.
and on the back of the card, there is a scribbled note in surprisingly messy handwriting for a goddess that says, your old clothes seem like they're kind of falling apart. I thought you might need a change. And it's signed with a little rainbow. Just a tiny doodle of a rainbow.
Sammy's white eyes go wide, and then like there are little. His shading goes yellow, and then like basically all around him, there's like these little like sparkles as like the atmosphere kind of like brightens up around him because this kid's Ghiblian, y'all.
We love this Ghibli kid. He's adorable.
And he just kind of holds up the new clothes and is just like, oh, oh, those are pretty. Oh, and they're the ones. The shirt that he's holding up is the one with like very billowy sleeves with little rainbow edging, and then on the bottom has the rainbow edging as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, oh, 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 oh. He's very excited.
There is there is also in this stack of things that you have been given a new pair of pants, new pair of shoes, um, a shiny silver symbol thingy, uh, shaped like Prismatone's crown, a rainbow colored ribbon for your friend Squeakers,
Mhm.
and a mirror.
Sammy puts everything on and very reverently puts on the symbol, the little necklace symbol, and then he kind of his eyebrows crease a little, and he's like, "I guess she wants me to see what I look like." And he picks up the mirror and looks.
And Sammy, there is some stripes of rainbow colored fuzz on your head.
He squeaks. He's just like, ah, oh, hair, 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 and he just kind of reaches up and pats at the hair, and it's just like, got hair. I've got hair. Whoa, this is cool. I have hair. I've never had. I've never had hair before. How do you take care of hair?
You don't know, but it's very soft and fuzzy.
His eyes crinkle. He's just like, "Oh, that feels nice. That feels really nice against my fingers." That he just kind of rubs at the fuzz for a good solid minute or so. Honestly, gives himself probably a bit of a built-up static electricity. He's just like, "Oh, oh, this feels nice. Yes."
And the last thing I will have you note is that when you put on the necklace, it reacted with something in your chest. You don't really know how to explain it, but, well, you're a toon. All toons have a sort of inherent magic, but you've never been much of one for magic. But there's a lot more magic in you than there used to be.
His hand kind of reaches up to touch the amulet, and he just kind of holds it and is like, "Thank you, Prismatone." And his voice is incredibly soft as he says this goddess's name. And he looks one more time at his face, and then it's like, wait, 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 what? And kind of pulls down his cheek a little, and there are several rainbow colored upside down rainbow markings, rainbow drop markings on his face, and he's just like, wait, that wasn't there before last night. Huh.
You got a makeover.
Baby's first redesign.
And do we want to end it here?
Yeah, I think we should end it here.
All right. So we follow sort of a breeze that comes down through the crack in the ceiling, and we pan out from the temple. And the last shot of the episode is of the Sammy we know, at home, asleep in a proper bed. And then the episode ends.
Yay!
Everybody say goodbye to the listeners. Goodbye,
Thank
listeners!
you for coming with this ride with us.